Hello there, buddy. With a little help from my animated friends, let's find out what organizational structure means. Now meet Nancy. She's the Chief Executive Officer, or CEO of Awesome Corp, a company with 35 employees. Well, this is Jim. He's the Chief Operating Officer, or COO, of Awesome Corp. He's Nancy's second in command and reports directly to her. Jim oversees a wide variety of areas, including production, sales, and marketing. Mutlu is the Chief Financial Officer, or CFO. Simply put, he's responsible for the financial health of the company. Nancy, Jim, and Mutlu are Awesome Corp's executive team. But Awesome Corp has more employees than just 3. A lot more. Let's take a look at the financial department. As you remember, Mutlu is the CFO. Now this is his team. Layla is a senior receivables accountant. She manages accounts receivables. That's the money coming into the company from its customers. She makes sure invoices get issued and that Awesome Corp gets paid on time. Well, this is Thomas. He's Layla's peer, meaning that they are likely to receive comparable compensation, and they both report to Mutlu. Thomas's area is slightly different though. Thomas handles accounts payable. That's the money that the company pays to its suppliers and service providers. He also happens to handle the company's taxes. Susan is a procurement specialist. She works with the company's suppliers and partners to make sure the company always has sufficient resources and that service contracts are up to date. She frequently scouts new vendors in order for Awesome Corp to get the best prices. Thomas is her manager. Ahoy, Financial Department! Of course, there are more departments. Together, all these employees from Awesome Corp, decision-making power flows from the top to the bottom, with a greater concentration at the top. All companies are slightly different, but this will give you a solid start.
Organizational structure. Businesses can be very complex organizations with many hundreds or thousands of people working in them in many different roles. In order to manage their resources effectively, businesses must have clear organizational structures in place. Organizational structures include the different relationships between people in an organization. For example, in some cases, an employer might want to have a formal relationship between people in the organization, or in others it might be more relaxed. This happens in everyday life too. Think about any organization that you're a part of. Do you call the other people by their first names? Do you call them by their title? What about the other members themselves? Do they call each other Mrs. D, Dr. X, or Mr. M? Or do they refer to each other by their first names? How do they refer to the person leading the organization? Different levels in a business are referred to as hierarchies. A hierarchy occurs where people are given some sort of title or rank that signifies their importance in the organization. All businesses have employees working at different levels of responsibility. At the bottom, a business depends on its operatives to produce the products or services. Team leaders often perform the day-to-day management role, with operational managers setting direction and strategy for the business as a whole. The number of employees in each level will depend on the business's organizational structure. It is important to determine who takes responsibility for decision-making, who reports to who, and who to blame when things mess up, or who gets the pat on the back if things go well. There are 3 typical organizational structures. They are known as hierarchical, flat, and matrix. A hierarchical structure is typical in large companies, where each level of employee reports upwards and each level has a narrow span of control. The downside of this type of structure is that it can often lead to significantly slower communication and decision-making. A flat organizational structure has much less levels of hierarchy and wider spans of control. This means employees at each level can communicate with managers more easily and quickly. However, this usually means that workers take more responsibility for decision-making. The benefits of this are that it may encourage a more dedicated and motivated workforce. Typically, this type of structure is used in small businesses and startups. A benefit of this structure is that it allows the business to change rapidly to respond to the market, customer, or competitors. However, this only applies if the staff are well trained and are actually capable of making the changes. Lastly, a matrix structure gathers employees who hold the relevant expertise in order to help the business to meet its goals. The people selected come from different levels and departments within the business. The structure can be used in both hierarchical and flat organizations and are typically used for specific projects. Individual team members may come from different parts of the business, regardless of their usual location in the hierarchy. Obviously, once a project is over, the matrix will be disbanded.
Meet Nathan. He is the Chief Executive Officer of a large multinational corporation. He manufactures a wide variety of chemicals for both residential and commercial applications. Nathan's company engages in business activities on 5 continents in over 25 countries. The company employs over 50,000 people with a budget that rivals the GDP of some third-world countries. Needless to say, running a company of this size requires a high degree of organization and management. This is where hierarchy comes in. Hierarchy is a way to structure an organization using different levels of authority and a vertical link or chain of command between superior and subordinate levels of the organization. Higher levels control lower levels of the hierarchy. You can think of an organizational hierarchy as a pyramid. The highest level of authority is at the top of the pyramid, and orders flow from this top level down to the next level, where it continues to move on down until it reaches the level where the order is supposed to be carried out. Information and directions flow vertically in a hierarchical structure. Information flows up through each level until it reaches the top. After all the information has been received and assessed, a decision will be made at the top and will flow down through the levels of the hierarchy until it reaches the level where the decision will be implemented. Also, note that the top level of the hierarchy often coordinates all the activities and communication of the various parts of the organization. Let's look at an example. Nathan has received a report from his Research and Development Division that a new cleaning solvent has successfully passed all regulatory requirements and is ready to be produced and marketed to the public. Nathan sends directions to his Vice President of Finance to prepare a budget for financing the production and marketing of the new chemical. He directs his marketing VP to have a marketing plan developed, and his VP of production to develop a production schedule based on the projected budget received from the finance VP. Each VP will delegate part of their task to their respective department heads, who may, in turn, delegate some tasks to their supervisors. Once the task has been completed, the information will flow back up through the hierarchy to Nathan, where it will be assessed and further decisions will be made. An organizational chart is a diagram of an organization's structure. It will show the job titles and patterns of authority in the organization. It is a useful tool to figure out an organization's hierarchy. The top of the chart will depict the highest level of the hierarchy. A line will typically be used to show the superior-subordinate relationship between each level. Let's look at what the organizational chart of Nathan's company may look like. Nathan's level is represented by the term president, with a line flowing down to each vice president under his direct control. Each vice president will have lines flowing down to each department head that each vice president controls. Lines from the department heads will flow down to the supervisors they manage. Supervisors will have a line flowing down to the team of employees each manages. You will be able to trace a path of authority from the bottom of the chart all the way up to Nathan, and will be able to tell who answers to whom. Let's review what we've learned. A hierarchy is a way to structure an organization. It consists of different levels of authority, where higher levels control and manage lower levels. Information usually flows up the hierarchy to the top where decisions are made. Once a decision is made, orders flow down through the levels until the orders reach the level where the decision will be implemented. An organizational chart is a diagram of an organization's structure that will help you determine its hierarchy.